Before you close your eyes tonight, stay with us. This is not just a story. It's not just a science lesson. It's a slow, drifting journey into one of the most mysterious, silent, and untouched places on Earth. Over the next couple of hours, we'll go deeper than sunlight dares to reach, where time slows, light bends, and survival takes forms you've never imagined. You won't want to leave before we touch the ocean floor and hear the heartbeat of a world that almost no one has seen, but that has shaped life as we know it. So make yourself comfortable. Set down the weight of the day. Let your breath match the rhythm of the sea. Because down here, everything moves slower, everything listens, and everything survives in ways that feel like dreams. Close your eyes if you'd like. We're about to descend. Imagine yourself floating just above the ocean's surface. The sun is behind you now. It flickers on the water like firelight on glass. You begin to sink. Slowly, without resistance, with peace. You pass the waves, the boats, the gulls circling above. They fade. The water becomes still and quiet, and blue begins to deepen into indigo. This is the epipelagic zone, the sunlit layer of the ocean. It extends just a few hundred feet down, but it holds most of the sea life humans have ever known: tuna, dolphins, sea turtles, coral reefs. But we're not here to stay. We're going deeper, into the twilight. Light begins to fade. The water around you is colder. Pressure gently increases, like the sea reminding you to be still. You are now entering the mesopelagic zone, the twilight zone. Sunlight filters weakly, unable to reach far. It glows faintly, like a memory. Here, creatures have learned to survive with shadows. You'll see fish with enormous eyes to catch every trace of light. Others generate their own glow bioluminescence, a silent magic that lights up deep-sea creatures like lanterns in a dream. Tiny flashes surround you. A soft blue pulse. A faint green shimmer. These are signals. A language of light. Some use it to lure prey. Some use it to find mates. Some flash just long enough to vanish again, becoming invisible to predators. Down here, glowing is not special. It's necessary. You pass a hatchetfish, its body silvery and flat like a mirror. It angles its body to reflect what little light remains above, making it nearly invisible from below. A quiet trick. A clever survival. You move lower still. Every 100 meters deeper, pressure increases. It's not something you feel harshly here. It's gentle, like the sea pressing in to say, "This is my realm." Human bodies would not survive this far down without protection. But the creatures here are built for it. Their bones are softer. Their skin more pliable. Their bodies more patient. Now all sunlight is gone. You've entered the bathypelagic zone, the midnight zone. There is only darkness. The kind of darkness that wraps around you, not to trap you, but to hold you. It is not frightening. It is quiet, complete. The fish here are fewer, stranger, more secretive. You may pass a gulper eel with a mouth wider than its body, designed to devour prey in one silent gulp. Or a viper fish, its teeth so long it can't close its mouth completely. It doesn't need to. Down here, ambush is everything. Stillness, suddenness, a flash of motion, then still again. But even in this darkness, life continues. Slowly, gracefully, adapted to every extreme. As you drift downward, you may feel as if you're leaving the world. And in some ways, you are. Less than 5% of the deep ocean has ever been explored by humans. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the ocean floor. And yet it holds the answers to questions we haven't even learned to ask. A sudden flicker catches your eye. It's a comb jelly, its rows of tiny cilia catching light and refracting it like a rainbow. It doesn't glow on its own, it simply dances with the light it borrows. And it's dancing for no one, just itself. That's how life survives here, with quiet beauty, invisible to the rushing world above. Soon, we'll reach hydrothermal vents, places where the Earth's crust cracks open, releasing heat and minerals in dark plumes. These underwater volcanoes create entire ecosystems where sunlight never reaches, but life thrives, feeding not on photosynthesis, but on chemosynthesis, the transformation of chemicals into energy. But not yet. There's more depth to fall. The pressure is now over 100 times what you feel at sea level. Down here, submarines must be built like steel eggs. But the fish, the worms, the jellyfish, they've made peace with the pressure. They've used it to shape their lives, their bodies, their stillness. The sea isn't cruel. It's just quiet. It rewards patience, slowness, and adaptation. That's why these creatures have survived for millions of years, mostly unchanged. Down here, change is dangerous. What works stays. You are still descending. Slowly, gently. The temperature falls to near freezing. The silence deepens. Your heartbeat, your breath, your thoughts, everything softens. And this is just the beginning. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore how deep-sea creatures sense the world without sight, communicate through pressure and light, and build life where no plant has ever grown. We'll meet the survivors of the abyss and the strange elegance that lets them thrive. Let yourself drift. The deep sea will carry you. Part 2. Life without light. How the deep sea sees, speaks, and survives. Now that we've left the surface far behind, the world around us has become quiet and strange. There is no sunlight here, no sky, no shadows. Only black water stretching endlessly in every direction. And yet, life continues. It does not need light the way we do. It has found its own ways to see, speak, and feel. In the absence of vision, many deep-sea creatures have evolved to sense their surroundings through pressure, vibration, and chemicals in the water. Some have enormous eyes, adapted to detect the faintest hint of bioluminescent flickers. Others have no eyes at all. Instead, they feel the world through long sensitive hairs or through organs that can detect heat, motion, or electric fields. Imagine a fish gliding through darkness. It cannot see its prey, but it knows exactly where it is. Tiny vibrations in the water travel across its skin, picked up by delicate sensors along its body. A movement, a ripple, a signal, and with a burst of speed, it strikes. No hesitation, no noise. Then it waits again. Communication in the deep is just as subtle. Without sound or light, some creatures flash rhythmic pulses of bioluminescent light to signal their presence. Others change their color briefly, sending a message that only their own kind can understand. Some release chemicals that drift through the water like invisible letters. These chemical trails tell stories of hunger, danger, attraction, and fear. Consider the anglerfish. This quiet predator uses a glowing lure that extends from its head, like a tiny lamp swaying in the dark. It stays perfectly still, letting the soft light draw curious prey closer and closer until it is too late. The anglerfish does not need to chase. It simply waits and watches with patience learned over generations. There are shrimps here that can snap their claws so fast they create a bubble hotter than the surface of the sun for just a moment. The sound can stun nearby prey, and yet, you would never hear it. The sea muffles everything. Even violence feels soft here. Some fish have mirrors in their eyes, reflecting what little light exists so they can see better in complete darkness. Others have evolved red or black bodies, colors that are almost invisible at these depths. To survive here is to disappear, to live without being noticed. The deep sea is not a place of chaos. It is a place of stillness and extraordinary precision. Every movement matters. Every adaptation is a lesson in silence and resilience. Survival does not come through speed or strength. It comes through sensitivity, patience, and the ability to wait for the right moment. Even the way these animals eat is delicate. Food is rare. There are no plants, no algae, no photosynthesis. Life here depends on what drifts down from above. Dead plankton, fish scales, tiny fragments of organic matter. This is called marine snow, a slow, gentle rain of nourishment from the upper ocean. And when a large animal dies near the surface and sinks to the bottom, it becomes a feast. A single whale fall can feed an entire community for decades. Nothing is wasted here. Every bit of energy is used. Every resource is stretched as far as possible. It is a lesson in efficiency, in gratitude, in quiet endurance. Now imagine the shape of a deep-sea octopus wrapping itself around a rocky ledge. It does not swim. It simply rests, watching, waiting. If danger comes, it changes color. If a meal passes, it moves like liquid, with barely a ripple. In some species, the mother guards her eggs for years, never eating, never leaving. She gives everything for the next generation, and then quietly fades. The deeper we go, the more remarkable life becomes. Not louder, not brighter, but more refined, more peaceful. These creatures are not in a hurry. They are not running from anything. They are shaped by time, by darkness, by the crushing weight of water above them. As we float through this still world, we begin to notice how survival does not always look like struggle. Sometimes it looks like calm, like softness, like a slow rhythm that carries on no matter what. In the next part of our journey, we will discover how the Earth itself shapes the deep sea. We will visit underwater volcanoes, explore the strange life around hydrothermal vents, and see how fire and heat exist in this world of cold and silence. For now, let yourself drift. Let the pressure settle around you like a blanket. There is nothing here that moves quickly, nothing that demands your attention. Just quiet life, glowing softly in the dark. Part 3. Fire beneath the sea, volcanoes, vents, and the birth of deep life. Beneath the calm and crushing pressure of the deep sea lies something unexpected. Not silence, not cold, but fire, heat, creation. Here, along cracks in the ocean floor, the Earth is alive and breathing. It releases heat through hydrothermal vents and underwater volcanoes, sculpting entire ecosystems in the darkness. Imagine drifting across a vast plain of black rock. The temperature is near freezing. Around you, the water is still and heavy. Then, suddenly, a tall chimney rises from the seabed, releasing dark plumes of hot water. This is a hydrothermal vent. It looks like smoke, but it is not smoke. It is heat, filled with minerals and chemicals escaping from deep within the Earth. The water that escapes these vents can reach temperatures of over 700 degrees Fahrenheit, yet it never boils. The pressure at these depths is so intense that boiling is impossible. Instead, the heat seeps and swirls, creating shimmering columns of energy in a place that never sees the sun. Around these vents, life flourishes. Giant tube worms grow in tight clusters, standing like silent candles in the dark. They have no mouths and no stomachs. Instead, they host bacteria inside their bodies that convert the chemicals in the vent water into energy. This process is called chemosynthesis. It is the deep sea's version of photosynthesis, but without any light. Crabs with bright white shells crawl slowly over the rocky terrain, feeding on bacteria mats. Blind shrimp swarm in the warm water, sensing heat with tiny patches on their backs. These creatures do not need sunlight or surface air. They survive entirely on the heat and minerals of the Earth itself. This discovery changed everything. For centuries, scientists believed that all life needed sunlight. Then, in the late 20th century, explorers in deep-diving submarines found these vents and the life around them. It was like discovering a hidden world with its own rules. A world where life does not come from above, but from below. And these ecosystems are not only surviving. They are ancient. Some vents may have been active for thousands of years, hosting generations of organisms that live and die without ever seeing the surface. The creatures here are slow-growing, long-lived, and deeply adapted to extremes. These vents are not silent. If you could hear underwater, you might notice faint crackles, gentle hissing, the low rumble of shifting rock. The Earth is not sleeping. It is constantly shaping the sea floor, opening new vents, closing old ones, and guiding the path of life. Elsewhere, underwater volcanoes erupt with lava that cools instantly in the cold seawater, forming new land in the form of pillow-shaped rocks. Sometimes, earthquakes shake the seabed, changing the direction of vents and currents. And yet, life adapts. It moves, it waits, it returns. There is beauty in this kind of creation. It is not violent, though it is powerful. It is slow, deliberate, and eternal. These forces have been shaping our planet for billions of years. Long before humans existed, the deep sea was alive with this hidden fire. And it will continue long after we are gone. As you float past these vents, feel the warmth of the Earth rising through the water. Not as heat against your skin, but as energy, soft, ancient, and unstoppable. Every mineral, every bubble, every shimmer in the water is a sign that the planet is alive. And the creatures here are not just survivors. They are pioneers. They have shown us that life is stronger, stranger, and more adaptable than we ever imagined. That even in the darkest, hottest, most crushing places, life finds a way. In the next part of our journey, we will explore the shipwrecks, sunken cities, and forgotten bones that rest on the ocean floor. We will learn how memory is kept in silence, and how the deep sea guards the past like a library without walls. For now, rest here by the vents. Let the rising warmth carry you. Let the slow rhythm of underwater fire remind you that even in the deepest cold, something is always beginning. Part 4. The graveyard below, shipwrecks, bones, and the memory of the sea. As we continue our descent, we begin to find objects that do not belong to the sea. Shapes that were once part of the surface world, now claimed by the deep. Here, in the stillness of the ocean floor, lies a vast and solemn graveyard. It stretches for miles across the sand and rock, untouched by wind or sunlight. Imagine drifting past the remains of a ship. Its wooden frame has collapsed, softened by time and salt. Iron has rusted into flakes. Ropes and sails have vanished. And yet, it rests peacefully, cradled by the seafloor. It no longer moves, but it is not forgotten. All over the deep sea, wrecks like this lie in silence. Some are centuries old, carried here by storms or sunk in war. Others are more recent, victims of human error or natural disaster. Whatever their stories, the sea has kept them. Gently, without judgment. Even human-made things become part of this world. A teacup, a shoe, a compass, a broken bell, each one held still in the cold, high-pressure dark. Time moves differently down here. There are no seasons, no sunrises, only slow erosion, patient decay, and silence. And among these artifacts, there are bones, the remains of whales, sharks, and even ancient sea creatures long extinct. A whale fall, as it is called, begins when a whale dies near the surface and its body sinks for hours or even days until it finally touches the seafloor. When it arrives, it begins a second life. First come the scavengers. Sharks and large fish tear at the flesh. Then, smaller animals arrive, crabs, worms, snails. As the body is slowly consumed, new creatures appear. Some feed on the oils in the bones. Others build homes in the skeleton itself. In total, a single whale can support hundreds of species and provide nourishment for decades. This is not waste. It is transformation. The body becomes part of the sea. Its nutrients are absorbed, shared, and recycled. Even in death, life continues. Quietly, with purpose. Some wrecks have become artificial reefs. Coral grows on steel hulls. Anemones cling to broken masts. Schools of fish swim through empty cabins. The sea does not reject what falls into it. It reshapes it. It finds new use, new balance, new life. This part of the ocean feels different. Heavier. Not with danger, but with memory. With stories untold. Things once built by hands, now softened by time and water. And yet, the deep sea does not mourn. It does not hold grief. It holds presence. What is here remains. What is gone is quiet. In this graveyard, there is no sadness. Only stillness. Only acceptance. You may pass a pair of deep-sea sharks circling slowly, drawn to the scent of something distant. Or see a ghostly octopus resting on a rib bone, unaware or unconcerned with what lies beneath it. Life here does not remember in words. It remembers in form, in habit, in quiet resilience. Even human history rests here. Submarines from long-ago wars. Statues dropped by accident or design. Lost treasures that will never be recovered. The sea has no interest in gold or stories. But it keeps them all, slowly covering them with silt and life. There is a comfort in this, that nothing is truly lost. Only moved. Only changed. In the next part of our journey, we will visit the forests of the deep sea. Not made of trees, but of coral and sponge, growing slowly in the darkness, sheltering life in their hollow branches. We will explore how these hidden gardens bloom without sun, and why their survival is one of the ocean's quiet miracles. For now, float among the forgotten things. Let the weight of time fall away. Let the silence of the deep remind you that everything ends and everything continues. Part 5. Gardens in the dark, coral forests, glass sponges, and the builders of the deep. As we continue drifting along the ocean floor, the landscape begins to change again. It is no longer flat and open. Now, strange structures rise from the seabed. Tall, branching shapes, hollow towers, fields of delicate architecture, too soft to be rock, too strong to be swept away. You have entered the forests of the deep sea. Unlike the green forests of land, these gardens are made of coral, sponge, and limestone. They do not grow fast. They do not sway in the wind. Instead, they rise slowly over centuries, shaped by minerals in the water by currents. By time point, one of the most striking forms you may see is the glass sponge. Its body is made from silica, the same material found in sand and glass. But instead of being sharp or fragile, the sponge forms beautiful lattices that look like crystal sculptures. They are so delicate that a human touch could destroy them, yet they have survived in the deep for thousands of years. Inside their hollow frames, tiny shrimp, worms, and other creatures find shelter. These structures are not just decorations. They are homes. They are the skeletons of communities. Corals grow here too, though differently than the colorful reef corals found in shallow waters. Deep-sea corals come in pale whites, soft pinks, and deep reds. They do not need sunlight, because they do not rely on algae to survive. Instead, they capture plankton and particles drifting down from above, feeding on the ocean's gentle snowfall. A single coral colony may grow just a few millimeters each year. Yet over hundreds, or even thousands of years, it can build structures taller than buildings. These are the forests of the abyss. Quiet, ancient, vital. Within these coral forests, life thrives. Fish hide among the branches. Crabs climb their way across coral arms. Starfish drift slowly over sponge beds. These ecosystems are delicate but rich, shaped by balance, not by speed. Many of the creatures here have adapted to move little. Some stay in one place their entire lives. Others drift with the currents, landing where they can find food and shelter. The energy here is soft, never rushed. Every choice is efficient, every motion measured. And still, these gardens face threats. Fishing nets dragged across the seafloor can destroy in minutes what took centuries to grow. Pollution and climate change affect even the deepest waters. These forests, hidden from view, depend on our protection. But tonight, we are not here to worry. We are here to witness. To drift slowly through branches made of stone and glass. To marvel at life that blooms without color, without sound, without sun. As you pass through these coral groves, let your breath slow to match the stillness around you. Picture the tiny creatures resting in the arms of a coral tree, unafraid, unmoving. Picture a sponge that has not changed shape in hundreds of years, still serving as shelter for something smaller than a grain of rice. This is the quiet miracle of the deep sea. That something so fragile can also be so strong. That something so slow can last longer than anything above. In the next part of our journey, we will rise slightly into the water column to meet the strange creatures that float freely through the depths. The drifters, the wanderers, the soft-bodied architects of the abyss. For now, let yourself rest here among the branches. Let the quiet of the forest wrap around your thoughts. Nothing here is in a hurry, and neither are you. Part 6. The drifters, jellies, salps, and the gentle architects of the open deep. Leaving the coral forests behind, we begin to rise gently into the open waters. The seafloor fades into shadow below, and now we are suspended in the great, silent middle. This is not a place with landmarks or roads. There is only water, stretching in every direction, and within it, life that floats without boundaries. Here live the drifters, creatures without shells or bones, without need for speed or noise. They move by pulses, by currents, by the flow of the sea. Some are nearly invisible. Others glow softly, like moonlight in motion. You may first notice the jellyfish, a bell-shaped body, trailing long, delicate tentacles. It moves with slow, steady contractions, propelling itself through the water like a heartbeat. It does not chase its prey. It drifts and it waits. Tiny creatures touch its tentacles and are gently drawn in, caught without struggle. Some jellyfish in the deep grow to enormous sizes. Others are no larger than a raindrop. Many are bioluminescent, lighting the dark around them with pulses of green, blue, or soft white. Their glow is not for show. It is a message, a distraction, a signal of defense. In the deep sea, light is language. Floating nearby, you may see a comb jelly. Unlike true jellyfish, it does not sting. Instead, it moves with rows of tiny cilia that beat in perfect rhythm, scattering light like a prism. As it glides, colors ripple across its body, blue, violet, pink, like watercolors in motion. There are other drifters, stranger still, salps, which look like clear tubes, floating in long chains. They feed by filtering the water as they move, and they do it efficiently. A salp the size of your hand can move more water in a day than a small fish. They do not have faces. They do not need them. They are simple, soft, and successful. These drifting creatures play an important role in the ocean's rhythm. They carry carbon from the surface to the depths. They feed larger animals. They shape the food web with quiet persistence. You could watch them for hours, moving with such grace that time itself seems to slow. In this open water, there are no places to hide. So many of these animals have become transparent, nearly invisible. Their bodies are made mostly of water. They reflect little light. They leave no shadow. This invisibility is their armor. Even their movements are gentle. A single twitch, a soft spin, a slow descent. They are not built for battle. They are built for drifting. And in the deep sea, drifting is enough. Occasionally, a larger creature may pass through. A deep-sea squid, with arms like ribbons. A medusa with a bell the size of a car. These animals appear and vanish like dreams. The ocean makes room for them, then closes again. There are no crowds here. No noise. Only the calm ballet of beings that have survived for millions of years by doing almost nothing. Their strength lies in their softness. And as we float among them, we begin to feel it too. The way stillness can be powerful. The way gentleness can shape the world without force. The drifters are reminders that not everything must be chased. That there is beauty in letting go. In following the current, not out of weakness, but of trust. In the next part of our journey, we will explore how deep-sea creatures reproduce, how life is passed on in the dark, and the strange and beautiful ways in which these species ensure their future. For now, remain suspended here with them. Feel the rhythm of the water. Let it rock you slowly. Let it show you that survival can be soft, and that silence can carry you. Part 7. Life in the dark, reproduction, longevity, and the secrets of survival. As we float gently deeper once again, a quiet question begins to rise. How does life continue here? In a place where sunlight never reaches, where food is scarce and movement is slow, how do these creatures ensure their future? Reproduction in the deep sea is as mysterious as the creatures themselves. With few individuals scattered over vast distances, the chance of meeting a mate is rare. So deep-sea life has found unusual, often astonishing ways to overcome this challenge. Some species are hermaphrodites, meaning each individual carries both male and female reproductive organs. This way, if two members of the species ever do meet, both can produce offspring. Others release eggs and sperm into the water at the same time, relying on currents to bring them together. It is not wasteful. It is hopeful. And then there are species with stranger strategies still. One of the most well-known examples is the deep-sea anglerfish. The female is large, round, and equipped with her glowing lure. The male, in contrast, is tiny, barely a fraction of her size. When he finds her, he attaches to her body permanently, fusing his skin and bloodstream with hers. He gives up his independence. He lives only to provide sperm when needed. This bond, while strange to us, ensures reproduction in a world where chances are few and distances are great. In other species, mothers guard their young with remarkable patience. A deep-sea octopus was once observed guarding her eggs for more than 4 years without eating. She remained still, protecting them from the cold, from currents, from time itself. When the eggs finally hatched, she faded quietly into the dark. Her devotion had been absolute. Reproduction in the deep sea is not rushed. It is careful. Life grows slowly here. Some fish take decades to reach maturity. Some corals are hundreds or even thousands of years old. Their growth is almost invisible, their lives stretched across centuries. And yet, they endure. This longevity is part of their survival. In a world where food is scarce and danger can come from any direction, it helps to live long, to grow slowly, to conserve energy. Nothing is wasted. Every heartbeat is measured. Every movement matters. Some deep-sea creatures may live longer than we can imagine. There are sponges that have survived for 10,000 years. Shellfish that may have watched ice ages come and go. Their lives are quiet, but they are not short. Even death is part of survival. When a large creature dies, its body becomes a center of life. We saw this with the whale fall. But the same is true for fish, sharks, and even jellyfish. Nothing disappears completely. It becomes food. It becomes shelter. It becomes the beginning of something new. This is how the deep sea endures, not through rapid change or fierce competition, but through balance, through patience, through cycles that move too slowly for us to see, but that never stop. There is comfort in this, that even in darkness, even in silence, life continues. Not loudly, not brightly, but surely. In the next part of our journey, we will rise to the edge of the abyss and explore the places where the deep sea meets the surface world. Seamounts, trenches, and mid-ocean ridges. Places where the ocean speaks to itself across time and pressure. But for now, stay here in the quiet. Think of the tiny creatures drifting slowly toward each other. Think of the coral growing one breath at a time. Let this part of the ocean remind you that life does not need to hurry. It only needs to hold on. Part 8. Borders of the abyss, seamounts, trenches, and the edges of the deep. After drifting through the open water and forests of the deep, we now begin to approach places where the sea changes once again. These are the invisible borders of the deep. Vast ridges, ancient mountains, and narrow trenches that carve through the ocean floor like deep breath marks left by the earth. Imagine rising slowly until the smooth plains of the seabed give way to a gentle incline. At first, it is only a rise, then a slope, then a tower of rock stretching upward from the abyss. You are approaching a seamount, an underwater mountain born of ancient volcanoes, rising thousands of meters toward the surface but never breaking through. Seamounts are places of hidden abundance. Their slopes disturb the water, pulling in nutrients from below. These currents feed plankton, which in turn attract fish, squid, and whales. Coral clings to the rocky flanks, and creatures of every kind gather to feed, rest, or spawn. These underwater mountains become islands of life in the vast ocean dark. Some are small, some are taller than Mount Everest, and yet they remain mostly unexplored. To us, they are shadows on a sonar map, but to the life that clings to them, they are home. Continue drifting, and the seamounts begin to fall behind. The ocean floor stretches flat and wide once more. Then, without warning, it drops. A vertical wall. A sudden absence. You have arrived at a trench. Ocean trenches are the deepest places on Earth. Formed by the collision of tectonic plates, they are long, narrow depressions that cut into the crust like invisible scars. The Mariana Trench is the deepest known, plunging nearly 7 miles beneath the surface. At its bottom, the pressure is more than 1,000 times what we feel at sea level. The temperature is near freezing. The darkness is complete. And yet, life endures. In 2012, a small unmanned submersible sent back images from these depths. It captured strange amphipods, ghostly sea cucumbers, and jelly-like creatures with no bones and no fear of pressure. They drifted near the ocean floor as if the crushing weight above them did not exist. Trenches may seem like dead ends, but they are in constant motion. Earthquakes shake them. Sediments pour into them. Life falls, rests, and waits. These places are not empty. They are full of waiting, full of potential. Nearby, you might pass a mid-ocean ridge. These long, underwater mountain chains stretch across the planet like seams in the Earth's skin. Here, molten rock rises slowly, pushing continents apart and creating new seafloor. Hydrothermal vents often form along these ridges, releasing heat and minerals, giving birth to ecosystems, as we've already seen. These are the edges of the deep, not borders in the way we draw them, but transitions, shifts in depth, in temperature, in life. Places where the ocean reshapes itself, not quickly, but always. As you float above a trench or drift along a seamount, you begin to understand that the ocean is not one place. It is many. Each layer, each fold, each hidden slope holds its own story, its own rhythm, its own rules. You may never see these places with your own eyes. Few people ever will, but you can feel them in your imagination. You can know that beneath the calm waves of the surface lies a world with structure and soul, a world that continues whether we look or not. In the next part of our journey, we will rise even farther and meet the great travelers of the deep, creatures that migrate across oceans, that rise and fall with the day and night, and whose paths are written in the currents. For now, rest beside these borders. Let your mind drift along the ridge. Let the pressure and darkness fold around you like a blanket. Here, at the edge of the abyss, the world is vast and quiet, and you are part of it. Part 9. the travelers, migrations, patterns, and the pulse of the deep sea. As we rise gently from the trenches and glide past the shadowy ridges of the deep, we begin to sense motion. Not the quick rush of surface waves, but something older, quieter, and grander. A slow, purposeful rhythm of life that moves across oceans in patient lines. This is the story of the travelers. Many creatures of the deep do not stay in one place. Though the abyss is still, life beneath it is always in motion. Every day and every night, millions of animals rise and fall through the water column in the largest migration on Earth. And most of it happens in silence. Column in the largest migration on Earth. And most of it happens in silence. This vertical migration begins in darkness. During the day, creatures like lanternfish, jellyfish, and krill stay deep to avoid predators. But when the sun sets, they rise, sometimes thousands of feet, to feed on plankton near the surface. Then, as morning approaches, they sink again, vanishing into the depths before light returns. It is a slow ballet, repeated across oceans, every single day. Invisible from above, but vital to the planet's balance. This journey is not made in haste. It is guided by pressure, temperature, and instinct. Lanternfish, one of the most abundant creatures in the world, take part in this migration by the billions. Their tiny, glowing bodies flicker like stars in the dark, creating a faint glow as they move through the layers of the sea. There are other travelers too. In other species, mothers guard their young with remarkable patience. A deep-sea octopus was once observed guarding her eggs for more than 4 years without eating. She remained still, protecting them from the cold, from currents, from time itself. When the eggs finally hatched, she faded quietly into the dark. Her devotion had been absolute. Reproduction in the deep sea is not rushed. It is careful. Life grows slowly here. Some fish take decades to reach maturity. Some corals are hundreds or even thousands of years old. Their growth is almost invisible, their lives stretched across centuries. And yet, they endure. This longevity is part of their survival. In a world where food is scarce and danger can come from any direction, it helps to live long, to grow slowly, to conserve energy. Nothing is wasted. Every heartbeat is measured. Every movement matters. Some deep-sea creatures may live longer than we can imagine. There are sponges that have survived for 10,000 years. Shellfish that may have watched ice ages come and go. Their lives are quiet, but they are not short. Even death is part of survival. When a large creature dies, its body becomes a center of life. We saw this with the whale fall. But the same is true for fish, sharks, and even jellyfish. Nothing disappears completely. It becomes food. It becomes shelter. It becomes the beginning of something new. This is how the deep sea endures. Not through rapid change or fierce competition, but through balance, through patience, through cycles that move too slowly for us to see, but that never stop. There is comfort in this, that even in darkness, even in silence, life continues. Not loudly, not brightly, but surely. In the next part of our journey, we will rise to the edge of the abyss and explore the places where the deep sea meets the surface world. Seamounts, trenches, and mid-ocean ridges. Places where the ocean speaks to itself across time and pressure. But for now, stay here in the quiet. Think of the tiny creatures drifting slowly toward each other. Think of the coral growing one breath at a time. Let this part of the ocean remind you that life does not need to hurry. It only needs to hold on. Part 8. Borders of the abyss, seamounts, trenches, and the edges of the deep. After drifting through the open water and forests of the deep, we now begin to approach places where the sea changes once again. These are the invisible borders of the deep. Vast ridges, ancient mountains, and narrow trenches that carve through the ocean floor like deep breath marks left by the earth. Imagine rising slowly until the smooth plains of the seabed give way to a gentle incline. At first, it is only a rise, then a slope, then a tower of rock stretching upward from the abyss. You are approaching a seamount, an underwater mountain born of ancient volcanoes, rising thousands of meters toward the surface but never breaking through. Seamounts are places of hidden abundance. Their slopes disturb the water, pulling in nutrients from below. These currents feed plankton, which in turn attract fish, squid, and whales. Coral clings to the rocky flanks, and creatures of every kind gather to feed, rest, or spawn. These underwater mountains become islands of life in the vast ocean dark. Some are small, some are taller than Mount Everest, and yet they remain mostly unexplored. To us, they are shadows on a sonar map, but to the life that clings to them, they are home. Continue drifting, and the seamounts begin to fall behind. The ocean floor stretches flat and wide once more. Then, without warning, it drops. A vertical wall, a sudden absence. You have arrived at a trench. Ocean trenches are the deepest places on Earth. Formed by the collision of tectonic plates, they are long, narrow depressions that cut into the crust like invisible scars. The Mariana Trench is the deepest known, plunging nearly 7 miles beneath the surface. At its bottom, the pressure is more than 1,000 times what we feel at sea level. The temperature is near freezing. The darkness is complete. And yet, life endures. In 2012, a small unmanned submersible sent back images from these depths. It captured strange amphipods, ghostly sea cucumbers, and jelly-like creatures with no bones and no fear of pressure. They drifted near the ocean floor as if the crushing weight above them did not exist. Trenches may seem like dead ends, but they are in constant motion. Earthquakes shake them. Sediments pour into them. Life falls, rests, and waits. These places are not empty. They are full of waiting, full of potential. Nearby, you might pass a mid-ocean ridge. These long, underwater mountain chains stretch across the planet like seams in the Earth's skin. Here, molten rock rises slowly, pushing continents apart and creating new seafloor. Hydrothermal vents often form along these ridges, releasing heat and minerals, giving birth to ecosystems, as we've already seen. These are the edges of the deep, not borders in the way we draw them, but transitions, shifts in depth, in temperature, in life. Places where the ocean reshapes itself, not quickly, but always. As you float above a trench or drift along a seamount, you begin to understand that the ocean is not one place. It is many. Each layer, each fold, each hidden slope holds its own story, its own rhythm, its own rules. You may never see these places with your own eyes. Few people ever will, but you can feel them in your imagination. You can know that beneath the calm waves of the surface lies a world with structure and soul, a world that continues whether we look or not. In the next part of our journey, we will rise even farther and meet the great travelers of the deep, creatures that migrate across oceans, that rise and fall with the day and night, and whose paths are written in the currents. For now, rest beside these borders. Let your mind drift along the ridge. Let the pressure and darkness fold around you like a blanket. Here, at the edge of the abyss, the world is vast and quiet, and you are part of it. Part 9. The Travelers, Migrations, Patterns, and the Pulse of the Deep Sea. As we rise gently from the trenches and glide past the shadowy ridges of the deep, we begin to sense motion. Not the quick rush of surface waves, but something older, quieter, and grander. A slow, purposeful rhythm of life that moves across oceans in patient lines. This is the story of the travelers. Many creatures of the deep do not stay in one place. Though the abyss is still, life beneath it is always in motion. Every day and every night, millions of animals rise and fall through the water column in the largest migration on Earth. And most of it happens in silence. Column in the largest migration on Earth. And most of it happens in silence. This vertical migration begins in darkness. During the day, creatures like lanternfish, jellyfish, and krill stay deep to avoid predators. But when the sun sets, they rise, sometimes thousands of feet, to feed on plankton near the surface. Then, as morning approaches, they sink again, vanishing into the depths before light returns. It is a slow ballet, repeated across oceans, every single day. Invisible from above, but vital to the planet's balance. This journey is not made in haste. It is guided by pressure, temperature, and instinct. Lanternfish, one of the most abundant creatures in the world, take part in this migration by the billions. Their tiny, glowing bodies flicker like stars in the dark, creating a faint glow as they move through the layers of the sea. There are other travelers too. Elsewhere, near hydrothermal vents or cold seeps, chemosynthetic bacteria form the foundation of life. These tiny organisms do what no sunlight-based plant can. They turn chemicals like hydrogen sulfide and methane into energy. And in doing so, they support entire ecosystems. Tube worms stretch tall with no mouth and no stomach, but with a symbiotic relationship to these bacteria within their bodies. Giant clams cluster together, feeding not by filter but by chemistry. Blind shrimp scurry through mineral-rich waters, sensing heat with their shells. Each of these creatures is a link. Each is needed. Some species, like the scavenging grenadier fish, travel far across the seafloor, helping spread nutrients. Others, like the Dumbo octopus, are solitary but still part of the whole. Their presence, their movements, their waste, everything matters. Even predators are part of the balance. Deep-sea sharks, lanternfish, and squid may hunt, but their numbers are few, and their hunger is not wasteful. They keep populations healthy. They ensure the system remains in rhythm. And when a large creature dies, be it a whale, a shark, or even a shipwreck, it becomes the center of a new cycle. Life gathers. Energy spreads. The balance resets. This is how the deep survives. Not with competition, but with cooperation. Not with speed, but with synergy. Every action has purpose. Every role has value. There is no leader in this system. No hierarchy. Just layers of connection, layers of support, like threads in a vast, living fabric. This balance is delicate, but it is not fragile. It has survived for millions of years, adapting slowly, responding to change not with panic, but with evolution. And in this balance, there is peace. As we sit quietly in this world of order and calm, we begin to feel it too. The sense that nothing needs to rush. That life can flourish through rhythm, through sharing, through small but constant effort. In the next part of our journey, we will explore how the deep sea helps the planet above, how its quiet processes regulate climate, store carbon, and keep the earth breathing. But for now, rest in the knowledge that below the waves, balance still exists. Perfect in its silence, complete in its simplicity, alive in its stillness. Part 12. The Ocean's Gift, Climate, Carbon, and the Breath of the Planet. As we float just above the seafloor, surrounded by creatures that rarely move and systems that rarely change, it may be easy to think that the deep sea is disconnected from our world, that this darkness, this silence, belongs only to itself. But in truth, the deep sea is breathing with the planet. And with each breath, it shapes life above in ways we can barely imagine. Begin with carbon. Every time you exhale, you release carbon dioxide. So do trees, animals, volcanoes, and cities. And while plants on land absorb some of it, much of the carbon ends up in the ocean. The surface waters take it in, gently, through the contact of wind and wave. And slowly, the ocean passes that carbon downward, into the deep. Some carbon sinks attached to marine snow. Some is taken up by tiny plants and animals and carried into the deep when they die. Some is pulled downward by currents. However it travels, it finds its way to the abyss. And there, the deep sea stores it, not for hours or days, but for centuries, even millennia. The deep sea is the Earth's quiet carbon vault. Without it, our atmosphere would be hotter, our climate less stable, our seasons more extreme. But because the deep holds onto this invisible breath, the world above can stay in balance. Then there is heat. The ocean absorbs over 90% of the planet's excess heat. Warm water spreads at the surface, but cold currents pull it slowly into the depths. The deep sea acts as a thermal sponge, evening out temperature spikes, softening extremes, slowing the pace of change. These movements are vast but subtle. They stretch across continents. The global conveyor belt, a system of deep ocean currents, carries warmth from the tropics to the poles and back again. It connects places that have never seen each other. And it does this silently, without demand, without recognition. The deep also produces oxygen, not directly, but by supporting the creatures and systems that recycle it. When life in the deep feeds on carbon, when bacteria break down waste, when nutrients are stirred by rising water, they all support the breathing of the sea. They support you. Even storms above feel the hand of the deep. A healthy ocean means more predictable weather. It means gentler rainfall, steadier seasons, and calmer winds. The sea does not control the sky, but it speaks to it. Through temperature, through moisture, through quiet exchange. And it gives without being seen. No applause, no audience. Just balance. Just generosity. Just a constant, unseen labor that holds the world in place. Yet, for all it gives, the deep sea is vulnerable. Climate change, pollution, overfishing, these threats reach even the deepest places. And when the deep begins to warm, or lose oxygen, or acidify, the planet feels it. Because this is not a separate world. It is part of everything. Still, tonight, we are not here to mourn. We are here to witness, to honor the deep's quiet service, to breathe deeply, knowing that the sea breathes with us, that every gentle wave on the surface depends on the stillness below. In the next part of our journey, we will explore how humans have come to understand this hidden realm, the tools we use, the missions we send, the first glimpses into the dark, and what we still have yet to learn. But for now, rest in gratitude. Feel the breath of the planet move through you. Know that miles beneath your feet, the ocean is holding the world steady. Part 13. The first glimpse, human discovery, submarines, and the unseen frontier. For most of human history, the deep sea was unknown, a place of mystery, of fear, of imagination. People believed it was lifeless, silent, and empty, a place where nothing could exist. And so, it remained untouched, quiet, waiting. But curiosity has a way of reaching into the dark. The first real glimpse came not from the ocean floor, but from a weighted rope. In the 19th century, explorers aboard ships like the HMS Challenger began lowering long lines into the sea, hoping to measure its depth. What they found shocked them. The ocean was far deeper than anyone had imagined. And it wasn't silent. It was alive. Samples returned from the depths contained strange creatures, delicate worms, star-shaped animals, tiny crustaceans that glowed in the dark. Each discovery sparked more questions. What else lives down there? How far does it go? How does life survive in the cold, crushing dark? In the early 20th century, engineers began building submersibles, small vessels capable of descending into the deep. One of the most famous was the bathyscaphe Trieste, which in 1960 carried two men, Jacques Picard and Don Walsh, to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. 7 miles down. They stayed only a few minutes. But in that time, they saw movement. Life. A silent witness to their arrival. Later came remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and autonomous robots. Machines equipped with lights and cameras, able to dive deeper than any human. They recorded ghostly fish, jelly-like creatures, and forests of coral no one had ever seen. Still, the deep kept many of its secrets. Images captured by submersibles are haunting and beautiful. Long, slow pans of the seafloor reveal animals that look like sculptures, some pulsing with light, others motionless for decades. There is no drama in these videos. Only calm, only mystery. And yet, every expedition brings something new. A fish with transparent skin. A worm that glows green and blue. A sponge shaped like a harp. Scientists return to the surface with new data, but also with new wonder. Some of these missions last months. Ships stay at sea, guiding robots through underwater canyons and vent fields. Researchers work in silence, watching dark screens, waiting for movement. And when something appears, a flicker of light, a ripple of dust, they lean forward. The room grows quiet. The deep has spoken. And still, we've explored less than 10% of the ocean floor. The rest remains unknown. Not because we lack the will, but because the sea is vast and slow to reveal itself. It opens only to patience. What we do know, we've learned with great care. And much of what we've found reminds us not of alien worlds, but of Earth itself, timeless, balanced, quiet, and alive. These discoveries aren't about conquest. They are about listening, about approaching with humility, with soft machines, careful hands, and deep respect. In the next part of our journey, we'll look ahead at what mysteries remain and what the deep might teach us in the years to come. But for now, drift with the memories of those first glimpses. Imagine being the first to see a living creature where none were believed to exist. Imagine silence stretching for miles, and then movement, light, life. Let that image carry you into rest. Let curiosity guide your breath. And remember, the greatest discoveries are not always loud. Sometimes, they arrive with only a flicker in the dark. Part 14. Into the unknown, unanswered questions, and the future of deep-sea exploration. Now that we've seen where discovery began, let us look forward. Let us drift slowly into the parts of the deep sea we still do not know. And there are many. Even after centuries of sailing, mapping, and sending machines into the depths, more than 80% of the ocean floor remains unseen. Not imagined, not sketched, simply unknown. The largest wilderness left on Earth is not in the forest, not in the desert. It is in the ocean. And so we wonder, how many species remain undiscovered? How many voices sing in frequencies we do not hear? How many volcanoes sleep beneath the waves, or mountains taller than Everest, or trenches deeper than we have ever reached? We know of life around hydrothermal vents, but what other systems might exist? Could there be forms of life that don't rely on the sun or on carbon in the way we understand? Could there be creatures that live for centuries, perhaps even longer, whose cycles of life and reproduction move at a pace we've never imagined? We've seen jellyfish that do not age in the way other animals do. We've seen fish whose blood never freezes. We've seen forests of coral older than human civilizations. And yet, every expedition seems to say the same thing: we've barely started. And then there are the questions of connection. How does the deep sea influence the weather? The tides? The migrations of birds and whales and fish across the globe? What happens when we change the deep, by accident or by industry? What signals do the animals send? What warnings might we miss? The future of deep-sea exploration is quiet, slow, and respectful. It involves better technology, smaller robots, more sensitive sensors, smarter algorithms. But more importantly, it involves better listening, a willingness to let the deep speak on its own terms. Some hope we'll mine the deep sea for minerals. Others hope we will never need to. Some want to build stations beneath the waves. Others dream of preserving it untouched. But all agree, the deep holds answers we have not yet thought to ask. Answers about life, about resilience, about how ecosystems survive without light, without haste, without help. And perhaps, in understanding the deep, we'll learn something about ourselves, about how to live with less, about how to endure without rushing, about how to be still, and yet, full of life. As the ocean slowly reveals more of itself, the most powerful tool we bring is not the submersible or the sonar. It's the question, the quiet curiosity, the patience to wait for the answer. And so, we continue to float, eyes open, ears open, ready to witness what comes next, not with urgency, but with wonder. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore the threats the deep now faces and how fragile this quiet world has become. We'll speak softly about conservation and responsibility. But for now, let the unknown remain beautiful. Let the mystery itself be part of the calm. Not everything must be solved tonight. Some truths are meant to rest in the dark, glowing gently, just out of reach. Part 15. Fragile depths, threats, change, and the need for protection. The deep sea seems eternal. Its darkness feels untouched, its silence unbroken. The animals here move with patience, and the systems endure across centuries. But even in this quiet world, there is change. Even here, there is danger. As we float once more through these cold, calm layers, we begin to notice small things out of place. A current carrying unfamiliar chemicals. A creature rising out of season. A patch of coral, pale and lifeless. These are the early signs. The deep sea is speaking, and what it says is clear: it is not immune. Pollution is one of the first visitors to reach the deep. Tiny plastic particles, invisible to the eye, drift down through the water column, joining the marine snow. Some fall into trenches. Some settle on coral. Some are eaten by the animals who cannot tell them apart from food. These plastics do not vanish. They accumulate. Slowly, quietly. Then there is noise. Ships above create vibrations that travel for miles. Sonar pings bounce off the seafloor. Drilling rigs hum with constant mechanical breath. To us, these sounds are distant. To deep-sea creatures who rely on vibrations to sense the world, they are loud, disorienting, unnatural. Chemical runoff from land reaches the ocean through rivers and eventually makes its way into the deep. Carbon emissions warm the sea from the surface down. As temperatures rise, oxygen levels shift. Some areas become hypoxic, low in oxygen, low in life. Others become acidic, harming corals and shell-building organisms that took centuries to grow. And then there is deep-sea mining, a growing interest in extracting minerals from the ocean floor. To do this, machines would need to scrape through ancient sediment, destroying habitats that have never been fully studied, ecosystems that took thousands of years to form. The damage would be invisible from the surface. But down here, it would be permanent. What makes the deep sea vulnerable is also what makes it beautiful. It changes slowly. It recovers even more slowly. A coral forest destroyed today may not regrow for hundreds, even thousands of years, if it grows back at all. Yet there is hope. Scientists, explorers, and ocean stewards are listening. More marine protected areas are being established. New policies are being written. Technology is improving, not to extract, but to observe, to monitor, to understand. There is growing awareness that the deep is not just out of sight. It is central to life. And you, the dreamer, the listener, the observer tonight, you are part of that awareness. By imagining the deep, by caring for it in your thoughts, you help protect it. You help speak for a world that cannot speak for itself. The ocean doesn't ask for much. Just time. Just balance. Just the chance to continue being what it has always been. A quiet force holding the planet steady. In the next part of our journey, we'll return to the creatures once more, not to study their biology, but to reflect on what they teach us. About slowness. About patience. About survival without fear. But for now, let this be a moment of stillness. Breathe with the deep. Listen not just for what is there, but for what is at risk of disappearing. Let your calm become a kind of care, because the deep is fragile, but it is not lost. Part 17. Rising toward the light, a gentle return from the depths. Our journey has taken us far below the surface, into silence, into shadows, into stillness. We have wandered among glowing jellyfish, ancient coral, and slow-moving travelers. We have listened to the rhythms of an ecosystem older than memory. And now, slowly, gently, we begin to rise. There is no rush. The deep does not release you quickly. The ascent is like a breath taken in reverse, slow, measured, steady. Pressure changes with each meter. Creatures become more familiar. Light, faint at first, begins to bloom in the water like morning on a distant horizon. This part of the journey is soft. The return to the upper layers feels like waking from a long, quiet dream. You carry no weight, only understanding. As you ascend, you pass through the zones once more. The abyss fades below. The twilight zone becomes visible again. Shadows soften. Bodies take shape. Colors return. Pale blues, muted silvers. Creatures move more quickly here, but nothing is hurried. Upward still, until the surface glow becomes a shimmer above. A silver ceiling touched by the sun, even through clouds. You may wonder if the deep will remain in your memory, if the stillness will fade once the world becomes loud again. But the lessons of the deep are not easily lost. They settle in your breath, in the quiet between thoughts, in how you pause before speaking, in how you notice the wind, in how you hold still, now and then, just to feel what it means to be here. As the surface nears, you begin to hear the low echoes of waves, the soft sound of movement, the quiet conversation between ocean and sky. The water is warmer here, brighter, lighter, but you are not returning unchanged. You have felt the ocean's pulse. You have watched life survive with grace and patience. You have traveled through silence and found it full of meaning. You have drifted among creatures who never needed the sun to shine. And now you rise, not to leave that world behind, but to carry it with you. The surface is not the end. It is a continuation, a bridge, a reminder that the deep and the light are part of the same world. That calm is not a place, it is a way of being. Let your ascent be gentle. Let your breath remain slow. Let the rhythm of the sea stay with you, even in the air. In the final part of our journey, we'll return completely to the surface, but with one last gift, a reflection on all we've learned. A closing thought, a final moment of peace before we wake. But for now, float in this space between worlds. Not below, not above, just here, just quiet. Part 18, Surface Reflections, a closing thought from the heart of the ocean. Now, we break the surface. The water parts softly around you. The sky stretches wide above. Air fills your lungs. Light fills your eyes. And yet, you are still. You are quiet. You are changed. You've traveled far tonight, not across continents, but through layers of mystery. You've descended into darkness and found it welcoming. You've listened to the breath of the ocean, to the slow survival of creatures you'd never imagined. You felt the deep speak without words. And now, you return to the surface not as someone who simply visited the sea, but as someone who was shaped by it. The deep has a way of shifting things inside us. It softens sharp thoughts. It stretches time. It makes space for stillness, for wonder, for questions without answers. It teaches us that survival isn't noise. It isn't urgency. It isn't struggle for the sake of motion. It's patience. It's harmony. It's knowing when to move and when to rest. Tonight, you saw how coral can live for centuries without rushing. How fish can find direction in total darkness. How pressure, though immense, is simply part of the world they accept. You witnessed creatures glowing not to show off, but to guide. Currents moving not to overwhelm, but to nourish. A world where nothing is wasted and everything is woven together. This is the ocean's gift, and it belongs to you now too. So as your eyes grow heavier and your breath deepens, remember the stillness that lives at the bottom of the sea. Let it settle in your thoughts. Let it carry you into sleep. You don't need to understand everything. The deep sea doesn't explain itself. It just is. Vast, silent, alive. Let that be enough. Let the mystery hold you. Let the quiet carry you. Let the rhythm of the deep stay with you, even here, in the gentle rocking of your bed, in the soft breath of night. You are part of that rhythm now. Thank you for joining us on this peaceful descent through one of Earth's most wondrous and hidden realms. We'll meet again in another place of calm, curiosity, and quiet science. Until then, rest well. The sea is still beneath you, and the world is at peace. Good night.